The Lekker Rugby Pod Instant Reaction with Harry Jones. Only on Megaphone Rugby.
Harry here for Lekker Rugby Pod. Distinctly unlekker. That was a fruit banana game. Every rugby match is a story. 3-act play, if you will. Act 1 was pure farce. A satire. With so many hookers handing balls to hookers at the line-out, it felt like the game was in Sea Point on a Friday night, not Dublin. So Marnie kicks off, and Leinster straight away notches a 50-22. Easy as you like. Geordie was jarred in the red zone. Easy exit for Marnie, but not out. So then Leinster reloads, low dances, Dion's too eager. Boom, it is a 3-0 bad guys score. Marnie kicks off again, knock on, scrum 1, penalty against the good guys for wheeling. Not really, actually. The throws by Leinster also get picked off as well, but Dion is pinged. Again, too eager, and so now it's a 6-meter line out. An overthrow from Sheehan to Dweba. That particular stat was reversed about 5 times. It was Dweba to Dan, Dan to Dweba. It's like they had a secret meeting before the game to get more touches. But Dweba knocks it on. And so you have scrum 2. Leinster loses the bind and pancakes in their face, but no penalty. Phases, low, clean JD's face. No, look at that, and it's try time, Leinster. So it's a scary 10-0 score line at 11 minutes. It feels like it might end up like some kind of, hiding 36, 35, 20, 25-point lead. And so I suppose it was prophetic. But anyway, there is a little fight back. None of the Stormers' mismatches were activated. What I was looking for was the Fouché versus Boyle, the Brannis versus Penny, Ben Jason Dixon maybe having a bit of the experience over Soroka, the speed of Zasa and Loader on the outside fringes. Looking forward to all of that. Battle of the Breakdown, aerials. But actually, all the other ones kicked in instead. Rugby is a game of mismatches. You had Archia just eating Dweba's lunch. You had Sheehan actually correcting his throw in the middle of the match. You had Geordie's boot and savvy IQ. And then you just have an unfortunate series of injuries as well. So anyway, at this point, I'm looking at this match and thinking it's just going to have to turn into a comedy of something. But it just goes back and forth. There is just incredible amounts of thrown away ball by both teams. The scrums go, in the end, about +4 for Leinster. No rhyme or reason. A lot of wheeling calls, a lot of moving across calls that didn't make any sense. I mean, on your own ball, you're not doing that. So it just seemed like a naive reffing display at the scrums. The rest of it seemed fine. And Slimani has shoulders like a snake, so it's almost impossible not to get up split by him at scrum. So Act 1 just continues where it's overthrows, an overthrow, line out, but a knock-on from the overthrow, and a scrum, and a knockout, and a throw, and an overthrow, and a scrum, and a knockout. But at some point, Archia, Geordie Barrett, and Dan Sheehan's glass kind of kicked in with Lowe giving a big assist. So as they steadily corrected some of their sloppiness, there was just more quality on the field. And we look at the 3 Bs of the Nienaber defense. The blitz, everyone knows about that. The barge and the big hits. That barge was really working for Leinster. Every single ruck was messy. The vet had to be doing crab walks back. He was turning into Ross Cornier there for a second. And that barge really worked. In the end, Marnie goes off with a bad knee. Similani on. And there's a free kick against the Stormers for too many men in the line-out. So all the points, all 15 points for Leinster come from direct Stormer mental errors. And so Leinster finds Sheehan in the corner. Galant doesn't need the fish nor foul because he's not playing 10 or 15, but 15 or 10. He bites in for no apparent reason, and Sheehan can just glide in. That seemed like a killer, all 15 points on a platter. So that's the end of Act 1. Act 2 is sort of the first 20 minutes of the second half, and that's where you think, okay, so what could happen here? And the answer is Leinster in the red zone for 5 minutes. Hot on the attack, tap and goes, because I think at the end, Leinster was quicker to realize winning a line-out opportunity is actually bad for us. So it was tap and goes from that point on. And they also realized that kicking the ball into the Stormer 22 with a Stormer throw was like a 50-22. So it was easy pickings. There was a lot of Archie at this point. He was playing a different kind of sport. It looked like a bit of Gaelic football, rugby, NFL, basketball, handball. Handball is that sport they have to kind of jump and flip it back out of the back of the hand. There was actually a moment with a let-off where it could have been 22-7 and a card, but the ball was called back, and then there was a Fouché head knock, and I don't think he ever recovered, he or Ali. So Brock Harris started stretching, but Fouché stayed on, and there was the ninth scrum. Both teams supposedly pre-engaged, which is kind of weird. If they're both pre-engaged, just let them scrum. But Vermaak, who looked like he had just run into a bus, was pinged at the ensuing scrum. And so then Leinster kicks to the corner again, a line out, not straight. And if Leinster cannot score after 9 minutes in the 22, I was thinking, this could change. The 10th scrum, it's a Stormers penalty. So now Act 2 might be going the right way. But, a penalty in the scrum gives the Stormers a bloody line out, which they'd need like a hole in the head. Archie is doing fake line-out calls, singing sonnets and poems from back in the day, and so this makes Dion really cross. And the overall feeling in the Stormers camp wasn't a happy team. They should be winning this game. The lineup gave them a perfect opportunity. All the points so far were gifted. So they just get a kick retained, and in the shallow attack, it's pinged to the ruck anyway. So Leinster has another poke to the 5 meters. So the story of the second act of this play is that no matter what the Stormers do, they get back in the 22. 11th scrum, pre-engage. So both teams are trying their best not to have any fluidity. And at 55 to 57 minutes, it's tactical kicking. But it is still Stormers in the 22. And that's when the rise of the kick from Leinster to the 22 for Stormers line-out, which is like a 50-22, because Fenter comes in, overthrows. You realize it's a system error. There's a lift to call, to jump, to throw error. And it's the kind of thing you practice more than any other thing in practices. The percentage of practice that's on a line-out is huge. So we don't know what's going on at this point. Dan goes off a tap and go and feeds Geordie from the first ruck, who slides in. Ruiz and Roche just bump heads again like Keystone Cops, 22-7, and you just wonder, is this the end? Enter in Act 3. So Leinster's back into the red zone to start Act 3. A bonus point home win for the unbeaten leaders, or a famous Stormers comeback. Well, we know now that it was never going to be on. We look very slow. I mean, how did our team get so slow? Stroll in the park try, 27-7 with Geordie to Lowe to Sheehan. The big boys are coming on. Byrne lets the time run and sluts it. So now you think, yes, it is in fact a hiding. Lowe is smiling as he picks up spilled ball and runs in. And there's a check for a knock on, and so that's a reprieve. Scrum 12, Brock Harris, the legend of Brock Harris, will it continue? Not really. Leinster drives through the Stormers, and Slavani celebrates like the French had won a war in the last 2 centuries. So that's where at some point you have no line-out, you have no scrum, you have no refuge, you have no midfield, because it did not look like Nel was at the races at all. Archie is like a main mast of a frigate, one of those old giant ships, soaring above the line-out and above the play in midfield. Stormers still tackling well, although Russ had to move the referee out the way once. But Farce again. Nell intercepts on the line, throws it straight to Osborne. Beautiful try assist. And he scores 36-7. There's a penalty in favor of the Stormers, and Ruiz runs away with it. And you think, 10 minutes to go, you're down by 36-7, and the ref calls it up and says, not on the fucking mark. So there's a line-out maul formed, and Leinster does fall off, and there's a scrum again, no penalty, another built attack. It just takes forever, and you start thinking, can this just be over? There's no pace. Yankees has got no ability to finish a movement. He's caught by James Feckenlow, and so why is the team, Nell, Samalani, Herschel, no one seems to be able to run away from anybody? I think the main point of this is that Leinster is that good that they, with Nienaber defense and their ability to go deep into rotation, that defense works for less than optimal players. So you have a really good defense, it becomes attack, and you don't have. It's easier to coach it to the second line of players. If your game style depends on outscoring and brilliant attack moves, it's quite difficult to slot in second and third string. And so in the end, there's a bit of consolation. Galan takes a kick and shoots it a bit like David Beckham, trying to curve around the hamburger burglar Barrett, who's actually trying to charge it. Comes close to charging it down. Overall, lost opportunity. Yes, Leinster is that good. They're unbeaten for a reason. The only part that I would say was strangely adjudicated was the scrums. I'd have to go back and look at it, but it looked like it was just a bizarre guessing game. So the rest of the season in the Urk posted quite well for the Stormers, but this would have been a nice bonus win, like away from home against a undermanned Leinster. Not lekker at all, but so ridiculous at some point that it's hard to even take it seriously. This game was overall a 3 or a 2 out of 10 in quality, and the only good parts of it were watching Archie do his kind of carnival vaudeville act. He's just having so much fun in Dublin. All right, cheers. Better next time.
The Lekker Rugby Pod Instant Reaction with Harry Jones. Only on Megaphone Rugby.